Welcome back to Red Recapped. Today I'm going to describe a crime thriller movie called A Most Violent Year, released in 2014. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film is set in New York City in 1981, a time of crisis and hardship for everyone. The film tells the story of Abel Morales, the owner of a trucking company. We see him jogging in the early scenes of the film. Abel is a cautious and diplomatic man, a businessman who tries to do everything in an honest way. He has built his fuel distribution business to a prominent position. On the other hand, his wife, Anna, is more impulsive and ruthless than he is. The scene shifts to a truck belonging to Abel's company on the road. Suddenly, it is stopped by a couple of thugs. The driver is roughed up by the men, who then steal the truck carrying fuel and drive away. In the process, Abel goes to meet his lawyer holding two briefcases in his hands. Abel talks to him about a certain business deal they need to complete. Abel's lawyer negotiates a $1.5 million deal with a group of Hasidic Jews led by Joseph Mendelssohn to purchase a diesel port on the East River. Abel makes a substantial down payment with the understanding that he must pay the remaining $1.5 million within 30 days or risk losing all his money. After signing the contract, the lawyer congratulates Abel and advises him to take a walk on the property. Later, Abel visits the beaten driver in the hospital. The young boy is in serious condition, but did not deserve what happened to him. Anna suggests that Abel talk to her father to resolve the matter. However, Abel knows that Anna's father will use illegal methods to resolve the matter with the thugs, so he refuses. Then Abel reveals to his wife that he has completed the deal with the Hasidic Jews, and she congratulates him. Finally, she leaves to see the new house they plan to buy, and Abel says he will join her later. The protagonist then goes to console and hug the poor driver. In the next scene, it turns out that the police were able to find the stolen truck but were unable to do anything with the thugs. Abel checks the container and discovers that they have stolen all the fuel worth $6,000 later. Abel and his lawyer go to meet with a prosecutor to talk about their stolen truck problem. Abel is convinced that competing firms are stealing his fuel, so he asks the prosecutor to take a look at his competitors. However, the prosecutor does not take his claims seriously, rather, he reveals that he wants to charge Abel's company with criminal charges. Nevertheless, Abel is sure that he is doing everything honestly and is not afraid to go to court. Abel reveals this to his wife and asks if she knows anything about it because she works for the company as an accountant. However, Anna doesn't reveal anything important. Some time later, Abel, his wife, and their 3 daughters move into the new house. One night, while Abel and Anna are in bed, their dog behaves strangely. Abel goes to check on it and finds an intruder in the house. He pursues him, chasing him away. Soon after, his wife arrives and believes it is their competitor. However, Abel calms her down by saying that it was just an ordinary burglar who probably wanted to steal the TV. The next day, Abel meets 3 new employees of the company and gives them a couple of tips. Abel teaches them to be high-class negotiators, and the young people are fascinated. Later, Abel visits the driver in the hospital and offers him a ride home. The young man asks him if he can take another role in the company because he is afraid that this thing with the thieves will happen again. Nevertheless, Abel tells him that he is not yet ready to change positions and promises him that that incident will not happen again. One day, Abel's wife finds his daughter playing with a gun. The little girl claims that she found the gun outside the house. Most likely, the gun was dropped by the intruder who had broken into the house at night. Immediately afterwards, Anna goes to break the news to Abel. He promises that he will take care, but Anna knows that he will not solve anything with only good manners. Anna would like to use her most violent methods, but Abel is against it. Then, as if that were not enough, the lawyer arrives to give them more bad news. The prosecutor has indeed decided to charge the company, and Abel tells his wife to go home immediately to check the accounts. Then the lawyer reveals that he has arranged a dinner with representatives of the bank. He advises the couple to talk openly with them to convince them to finance the purchase of the oil port. Later, Abel meets and talks with the manager of the drivers. The man tells Abel that he must find a solution to defend the drivers because they are afraid to go to work. As a result, the manager tells him that times have changed and that the methods by which they act must also change. Later, the manager meets Abel's lawyer and reveals his solution to him. He suggests that the drivers carry guns with fake permits for self-defense. Therefore, they should not use them but only scare off the thieves. Meanwhile, Abel confronts his competitors to try to find out who is responsible for these robberies but discovers nothing. A few days later, Abel discovers that another driver has been beaten up and his truck stolen. At this point, the lawyer also suggests that he provide guns to the drivers for self-defense. However, Abel refuses, fearing for the reputation of his company. Although the lawyer remains convinced that they must take tougher measures with the thieves, Abel wants to do everything as honestly as possible. That evening, Abel, his lawyer, and Anna go to dinner with bank representatives. Abel says that he does not have to worry about the prosecutor's accusations because he conducts a completely transparent business. During the conversation, one of the representatives asks Abel why he cares so much about buying the oil port. Abel reveals that it is strategically located, so he will be able to deliver oil all over the world. In addition, he will be able to buy oil at a lower price in the summer and then sell it to his customers and competitors at a higher price. Lately, representatives of the bank have assured Abel that they will continue to support him. On the trip home, Abel accidentally hits a deer that was trying to cross the road. Anna notices that the deer is still alive and says that they must put it out of its misery. Abel takes a crowbar to kill the deer, but Anna suddenly approaches and shoots the deer a couple of times. They then get into the car and remain silent for the duration of the trip. At home, Abel and Anna argue heavily as he discovers that she does not have a license to use the gun. Abel takes the gun and forbids his wife from ever using it again. Anna justifies herself by saying she fears for their family and indignantly tells him to do something about the thugs who keep threatening them. One day, during their daughter's birthday, the police banged on Abel's front door. He discovers that the prosecutor has organized a search of the house for evidence to be used during the court trial. Anna asks for half an hour so she can get the guests out, and the prosecutor agrees. Then, Anna and Abel go to hide all their bills from the company because she does not want the police to study them before her. The police search the house and find nothing. In the meantime, Anna talks to the prosecutor and tells him that he should be more careful with Abel because he is a respected man and will do anything to destroy him if he continues to get in the way. In the next scene, Julian, the driver who was beaten up at the beginning of the film, returns to work. He is still very scared and tells Abel that he feels vulnerable. On the other hand, Abel confirms that he is vulnerable, like all of them, but he has to fight fear, and only then will he achieve success. In the meantime, another employee of Abel's, who is in charge of customer acquisition, visits potential customers. Unfortunately, at that moment, he is attacked by an unknown man. In the meantime, Julian is also in trouble as he is again approached by thieves. Suddenly, Julian pulls out a gun and threatens to shoot. The thieves are also armed and suggest to Julian that he let them take the truck so no one will suffer. However, when a thief tries to get into the truck, Julian shoots. Soon after, the police are approaching them, and the thieves run away. Julian realizes that he will be imprisoned because he does not have a gun permit, and he also flees. Julian and the thief enter a tower. The thief tells him that he aggravated things for nothing. Afterwards, they run away from the police together. In the process, the salesman wakes up in a truck and is left in a pit in the middle of nowhere. At that moment, Abel learns about what happened to Julian. Immediately afterwards, Abel goes to tell the prosecutor what happened and tries to explain to him that he is not responsible for Julian's actions. The prosecutor tells him that he can use this incident against him during the court trial. However, if he wants him to stay out of the way, Abel must find Julian and bring him to the prosecutor. Later, the bank representative visits Abel personally to inform him that he can no longer finance the purchase of the terminal because of the impending indictment and the incident with Julian. Although they are good friends, the bank representative alone cannot decide anything. Soon after, the sales clerk arrives bruised, and Abel looks at him with displeasure. That evening, Abel visits Julian's sister to find out where he is. The girl says she knows nothing, but she is clearly lying. When Abel wanders around the house, Julian runs away and tries to escape through the window but is stopped by Abel's men. The next day, Abel prepares to turn Julian over to the police. The young boy reveals to Abel's lawyer that he threw the gun into a river. The lawyer tells him that from now on he no longer works for Abel's company. However, the latter will pay Julian's lawyer. The young boy gets out of the car and prepares to turn himself into the police. However, he tells Abel that he feels weak and runs away again. Subsequently, he hides from the police in an abandoned house. Meanwhile, Abel still needs money to complete the purchase of the terminal. So, Abel visits his competitors, Saul and Lorraine Lefkowitz, and says he needs a loan of $1.5 million. He is asked to wait a minute, after which they offer him a $500,000 loan with a 20% annual interest rate and partial use of the terminal. Abel has no choice but to accept. Later, Abel visits Joseph and asks him for some more time to raise the money. Joseph understands his situation and gives him 3 more days. One evening, Abel meets all his competitors in a restaurant and asks them with good manners to stop and put sticks in their wheels. The next day, Abel raises more money by taking out a mortgage on a building he owns with his younger brother. While driving in the car, another hijacking is reported, and Abel tells the radio that he will join him shortly. Abel finds the truck and begins to follow it. He reaches a small tunnel, and after he exits, Abel sees that the truck has overturned. Abel follows the hijacker to a complex of abandoned buildings. Abel arrives at a subway and continues looking for the hijacker. When he finds him, Abel knocks him to the ground and beats him. The man begs for mercy, and Abel lets him go. As a token of thanks, the man reveals that he sells the stolen fuel to Far Rockaway. Later, Morales confronts a competitor who has plants in Far Rockaway, threatening to call the authorities. The competitor agrees to pay him for the stolen fuel, which is $200,000. Abel gives him 24 hours, or he will tell the police everything. Nevertheless, Abel is still short $600,000, so he goes to another competitor, Peter Ferrante, who is affiliated with the Mafia, to ask for the remaining money. Peter warns him that it is dangerous to borrow money from someone like him, but he will think about it. Abel promises him that things will change and he will repay his debts. That night, Abel regretfully tells Anna that he is forced to take a loan from Peter, a mob affiliate, even though he hates doing so. At that point, Anna confesses that she has been skimming from the company for years, keeping the money in a secret account. Anna convinces Abel to use this money instead of a loan from Ferrante. Initially, Abel is furious to learn that his wife was literally stealing money from him and putting it into another account. However, after he calms down, he decides to take the money she has kept. The next day, Abel and his lawyer pay the bill and take possession of the terminal. Later, Abel finds out that the lawyer also knew about Anna taking money from the company all these years, and the lawyer apologizes to him. A little later, while admiring New York City, Julian arrives with a gun, clearly unstable and complaining about his self-inflicted circumstances. After a brief conversation, Julian asks Abel to take care. The bullet punches a hole in the oil container, and Abel uses his handkerchief to plug the hole. Later, Abel meets with the prosecutor and says that the wider investigation of his company is hurting his business and that sooner or later they should find a conclusion. The prosecutor agrees in general terms and suggests that the new oil terminal will develop Abel's business and give him political influence. In the end, the prosecutor then mentions that Abel may be able to help him with his higher aspirations. That's all from the video. Thanks for watching and take care.